we live? Are we alive? Or are we live? Are we alive? Look alive out there. My dad, my baseball coach used to say, look alive, look alive. I used to play left field in Little League Baseball in Modesto, California, and also in Canada. So look alive, everybody. This is going to be an exciting night. We're, in the legacy of Arthur C. Clarke, and who wrote incredible books, and one of them was 2010: A Space Odyssey, and 2001 movies. Two of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. But for those of you
David, you froze. Uh-oh.
Yeah, he froze.
Does he know?
Yeah, he may not know. He may want to text him. Oh, it's coming back.
Yeah.
What happened?
He
I think
froze.
Arthur C. Clarke I was just talking about Arthur C. Clarke, and he took me off point. So I probably all my strange quirks in my body leaped out of my body and took me to Jupiter. So
What happened?
I don't know what happened, but there was missing time and everything. I'll have to talk about it later. I don't know where I went. Hello from Australia. Much love. Yes, alive. People are alive. That's good. But you got to look alive. That's what my baseball coach used to say. And when I played left and center field, Willie Mays was my favorite baseball player of all time. But what Jimmy's doing is hitting the ball further out of the park, because we're sending a transmission to Jupiter's moon Ganymede tonight on the anniversary of John F. Kennedy's assassination. And I remember that day. I was there. I was born in 1961, so I remember the TV. I remember being a little kid, and even as a kid, what was I, 1.5 or something like that? You could feel the earth went bad that day. You could feel that a huge mistake had happened. You could feel the tears all over the world, the United States, Canada, and the world that day. So, in the legacy of JFK and Arthur C. Clarke, who, is the writer of 2001 and 2010, A Space Odyssey. I just love those two movies, which again are books, and the books are always better than the movie. But in the end, Jupiter turns into another star, and the moons of Jupiter eject out and become worlds. And the moon Ganymede, Jimmy and I were just talking before we went online, is about half the size of our Earth. Jimmy, is that right? Somewhere around there.
That's right. That's about right.
So and Ganymede has water, so it is very feasible. What Arthur C. Clarke proposed is that gods or goddesses, and both, had established dominion on the moons of Jupiter. And in the end of 2010, there's a transmission. All these new worlds are yours except Europa. Attempt no landing there. So we're not going to try and transmit to Europa. We're going to Ganymede, everybody. So we're respecting Arthur C. Clarke. Use them together in peace, he said. And that was so profound, because when you think of what Jupiter's atmosphere is made out of, it's hydrogen gas, and it's a mystery why. Like, I remember when the comet Shoemaker-Levy meteorites crashed into the planet, it was a wonder why they didn't ignite it, because all you need is a match to light hydrogen, and the whole thing should catch on fire and turn into a sun, and that didn't happen. So this theory, tell us a little bit about what you heard, Jimmy, that why we're choosing Ganymede in Jupiter's system
Sure,
And
sure.
yeah,
Thanks, David, and hi everyone. Well, Ganymede has there's a lot of information about this moon of Jupiter out there. If anyone looks, take time to look, what's out there in terms of information. I mean, there's a lot of reports that the Galactic Federations is holding meetings there. There are multiple different civilizations that are meeting. It's like a meeting ground, if you will, literally on Ganymede, and they have structures inside, also bases inside underground. So it's a very active region in general. And so it comes from different sources. So again, anyone who wants to do the research will be able to find that out. And so we chose that target tonight. So it should be very interesting. And again, the radio wave that we will be broadcasting at very very high power will physically reach Ganymede and Jupiter. So this is this
in
is important.
45 minutes, by the way, it's about 46 minutes away at the speed of light.
That's right. And also, I mean, these messages, I want to reiterate again that these messages are heard and they are decoded by these civilizations, and we have a lot of evidence of that. And a couple of weeks ago, we presented a short video, and we will present it again tonight. It's just a couple of minutes. It shows, a transmission that was made a couple of weeks ago towards Saturn, and actually asking these civilizations to manifest themselves, and could be recorded, video recorded, and they acted upon this request, very generously acted upon this request, and actually during the transmission of that message, which was requesting them to appear, there were 3 different distinct sightings that took place. So it was a very powerful confirmation that these messages are heard and acted upon. And so we'll be able to present that tonight also before we make the broadcast.
Mm-hmm. So the new scientist said, we don't need to land to find life on Europa. I mean, we know there's plenty of water there, and that means the potential for life. And in fact, NASA finds vast ocean on Jupiter's moon Ganymede, was in the Wall Street Journal in 2015 and March 16th. Vast ocean, right? So again, when you have the technology of these kind of craft, you don't have to worry about temperature, and temperature in proportion to organisms is something we know very little, very, very little about, because there's ways that organisms can generate their own heat internally. And it doesn't mean that everything that is alive has to be operating at 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit internally, like we do. We know that with cold-blooded, species on the planet, warm-blooded species, that not everything has to be at the perfect temperature to sustain life, and this idea of the perfect distance from the sun, and you cannot be alive if you're not in the Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, and it's, if we think about it, as you mentioned, I mean, they have the technology to create these artificial environment on a very large scale, actually on a planetary scale, and terraform. Just like we can go to the South Pole and in a place which would not be survivable, theoretically speaking, but with the right equipment, we can make it. So they have the technology to do that.
Yeah.
And also they all, beings vibrating at different, in different densities, in the 4th dimension, 5th dimension, and so on. So there's a lot of life out there that we, of course, we don't see and access, but it's there.
Now, this is a book I'm reading right now. It's called The Afterlife Frequency, but it gets into this. It gets into that the evidence for when we depart from our bodies, that we still operate in the electromagnetic, which means light, which means, whether it's visible light or non-visible light, we're still functioning in the electromagnetic spectrum somewhere. And therefore, the idea that Pythagoras set forth, and Pythagoras set this forth in the sense that it was not only mythic and a kind of a thesis. He basically found this child, Astraeus is his name. The child's name is Astraeus, which means star child, sitting on the side of the road. And this little child didn't have a parent. And he could see there was something different about this child. This child was literally probably dropped off by extraterrestrials, which would mean gods or goddesses. And he became family for Pythagoras, and I think he raised him. He actually raises Astraeus, and it's interesting because where the giant triangle appeared over the city of Phoenix, Arizona, the famous Phoenix Lights incident. The name of the mountains are the Astraeus Mountains, where the giant triangle stopped and hovered above the city, and Lockheed Martin had a base right underneath in Goodyear, Arizona, which was very close by. And sometimes they leave us little codes. They communicate to us in non-linear ways, like the name of a mountain is what I'm saying, and the child Astraeus, right? So the Star Mountain is basically what it means, right? So they are communicating. It's just that we miss the way they're communicating. They're not communicating in a linear, logical, sequential manner the way our languages work. Our languages, like in the English speaking world, in the French, Spanish, we read left to right, but in the Arabic world they read right to left. But you can also read holographically. And one of the downloads that happened since the last transmission was actually at Jupiter, is I decoded, from the Gospel of Philip, the entire rainbow spectrum music scale, because in the Gospel of Philip, Jesus is talking about, and I want you to see this, so I can actually, Shroz, can I do a share screen here? Because this is just a 3-minute video I want to show. Some of you have already seen this, but can I do a share screen? Rainbow body activation frequencies. So let me go here and then go to StreamYard, share screen. And then we go. Okay, so you watch this video here just for a minute. Hi, this is David Sereda from the Gospel of Philip, which is a Gnostic Christian gospel that was removed. The Lord went into the dye works of Levi. The tribe of Levi are the tribes of the bloodline of Moses and his brother Aaron. So the Lord went into the dye works of Levi. He took 72 different colors and threw them into a vat. He took them out all white, and he said, even so, has the Son of Man come as a dyer? This is to say that Jesus taught the rainbow body activation of the light body using 8 octaves of a music scale times the 9 colors equals 72 colors. He is speaking about in the Gospel of Philip. And in fact, at the time of Christ, we have no evidence that they even knew all 9 colors or the 8 octave music scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do are the 8 octaves that we teach in our music scale times the 9 colors equals the magic number 72. 9 pure colors are red, orange, yellow, lemon, green, turquoise, blue, indigo, and violet times the 8 octaves of the music scale equals 72. And that would have to mean these are actual frequencies, audible frequencies, because an octave is usually expressed as an audible musical tone. So this is how we get full spectrum rainbow body light activation, by doing the tones of the colors. Now, if we start at the top of the trillion hertz frequencies of each color coming from the sun, and we come down 48 octaves of each color, again, red, orange, yellow, lemon, green, turquoise, blue, indigo, and violet, are each vibrating in the trillion hertz spectrum. And what I did is I started with the highest number for the color, and I came down 48 octaves, and it equals the frequencies of the delta part of the human brain, which is 1 4.5 to 5 hertz. So they all come down lower than that perfectly. So if we take 48 frequencies or octave of each color times the 9 colors, we come to the magic number again, 432. This means there are a total of 432 color frequencies, starting at the actual frequency of the sunlight colors, coming down octaves equal to the delta part of the brain. So this is all done perfectly mathematically for your use. This is full rainbow body activation. In the Gospel of Philip, we continue. God is a dyer. As the good dyes, which are called true, dissolve with the things dyed in them, so it is with those whom God has dyed. Since his dyes are immortal, they become immortal by means of his colors. Now God dips when he dips in water. So of course, the sunlight goes into the water. The colors go into the water. And the Spirit of God is in the color frequencies. And when God dyes a person with God's Spirit, God is actually dyeing the colors of the rainbow body activation into the person. So this means that in the Gospel of Philip is teaching us to activate our rainbow body with these color frequencies, and it numbers them. Why would Jesus say 72 colors? Because again, 9 colors times 8 octaves. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's 8 octaves. Equals the number 72. So this is the first time in history we will have a full 72 color frequency activation. And the way you do this is the higher frequencies. Okay, so I want to point out something here. I just realized it is that we have 9 planets, and you have to count the sun. So if you're not going to count Pluto, we've got 9 colors, but we've also got 9 planets. And of course, water is prismatic because of the refractive index of water. It's, when sunlight passes through it, it splits out to 9 colors, in the simplest terms, in a manner of speaking. So that can't be a coincidence either. Maybe each planet corresponds to a color vibration, and that's something to definitely be investigated. But the point is, after the last download, Jimmy, this insight came to me, and we come back to, again, when you start in the trillion hertz bands, it's like 400 and something trillion hertz on this color and that color. Each color is just the bandwidth of each color is just a smidgen apart. They're basically stepping on top of each other. So why would, if I start at the top and I divide it by 2, which is an octave, and come all the way down, I get 48 octaves times 9 colors is the magic number 432 again. And of course, we've been, for the people who have been following us, everybody knows how the 432 and the 144.1 correspond to the actual speed of light. And remember, the speed of color is the speed of light, because all the colors are traveling at the speed of light. So that's part of what's been happening. And again, in a non-linear, more holographic download, right? When we do a transmission, there is a new epiphany that happens in the mind, and then we work on it. And the same thing, Jimmy's been going nonstop with massive revelations, and it's going to be added to the documentary for you people to be able to see, what we've been getting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. I can maybe I can share a slide or two, David. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let me share my screen briefly here, and I will do this screen share and this one. Okay. So what we see here, let me just increase the size of this a little bit here. So what we see here is David was mentioning downloads and information that was coming through. So there has been an energy signature that's been interacting with, with with my radio for maybe almost 3 years now, and there are different energy signatures actually that are interacting with our radios. But this one is interesting because this one has 8 different tones embedded in this energy signature. More detail will be released soon, but just as a quick, a quick overview here of what we're talking about. So we see these 8 frequencies to the left. They are color coded. These are the frequency embedded as I said, in this interaction. And for the longest time, I have not been able to make sense of these numbers. And a few days ago, there's a lot of insight that came through downloads, and after 4 hours of work, these numbers, essentially, with these numbers, we can calculate all these different figures here that are outlined on the slide. So sun radius or the sun diameter, I can do both. We can calculate the speed of light, Schumann resonance, Earth diameter, moon diameter, Math constant pi and e, and the light harmonics, for 144 and also 432. So there's a lot of information contained in these 8 frequencies, and simply by literally multiplying them one by the other or making very basic math, all these different figures can be extracted from it. So, to the question, is there information embedded in these interactions? The answer is absolutely yes. And we'll be presenting this very soon, but it's very, very interesting, very fascinating. So that's one aspect of it I wanted to share. The other aspect is, so let me bring this video here. So it's a couple of minute video. So we mentioned also last week there was something very significant happened. So as I mentioned, I made a transmission here with a very specific message that was asking or inviting these civilizations to manifest their presence, in the side of the antenna, because I do have a camera set up there live, and that's what we're going to see a bit later. So through this live stream, so I made the transmission towards Saturn, and we'll show in the video here. And during the actual transmission towards Saturn, there's been 3 distinct sightings that occurred. So they have clearly gotten the message and acted upon it. So it was a very, very touching in many ways, but very powerful. So maybe I can play this. Let me see here. So it's a minute. It's a video that lasts just a couple of minutes. Let me see here as it started.
Sound?
Oh, okay, here we go. Let me know if the sound is not okay, but it should work.
No sound yet.
No, I hear it.
Yeah. Now we can.
Yeah. So this is the message that was transmitted. And there were very specific instructions. we go.
Fantastic. So we're getting close. Let's tell people what we're transmitting tonight. What's on the timeline?
Yeah, let me share this slide. So this is the sequence, the transmitting sequence tonight. So we're going to have first the Ganymede tones that David produced. And so this will last 3 minutes and 17 seconds. We're going to have a pause of a minute in between each transmission to let the amplifiers cool down here. And then we're going to have a crystal OM healing sound, which is going to last about 7 minutes. And we're going to have another pause of a minute. And then finally, there's a multi-layer message that's at the end queued up. And this is the message here we see. So that message contains binary code. So at the bottom, the first, from between 432 hertz and 970 hertz, there's a full message, text message, as we can see here. This is encoded in binary code. We have also a pictogram here that we can see. I'm not going to go through all the meanings, but there's a lot of information embedded in this. And these coordinates, for instance, are all the coordinates from the most important ancient sacred sites on the planet, including the Great Pyramid of Giza. So they're all lined up literally in a perfect line around the Earth, like an equator. More information. There's a full symphony that's encoded in there. Symphony number 5 Adagietto, and at the end we have the children's eyes and voice, and David's voice also at the end calling in on Archangel Michael. So this is what's contained. All this information is contained in this multi-layer message, and lasts only 69 seconds. So that's going to be the last portion of the message we see here. And what we see here on the screen is the live feed of the antenna. So they are pre-positioned towards Jupiter, which should start showing up soon as the sun sets here in Arizona. We will be able to see it, and probably during the transmission we might be able to see it a little bit if
You're transmitting at 144.1 megahertz, right?
That's correct.
So the transmission and the power is about 150,000 watts to.
That's right. It's going to be about 150,000 watts. On some transmission, we're going to have to decrease the power a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, I can guarantee you that these radio wave will physically reach the target. And
oh yeah, no doubt.
Yep.
So we are also very important for any of you who are new is once the tones start, once the transmission starts, go within and really set your personal intention. This is an experiment in merging consciousness with an electromagnetic signal. And again, this photon reading the afterlife frequency really gets into the thesis of how human consciousness is electromagnetic. And it's been proven with squid magnetometers at Dartmouth College that the human heart emits an electromagnetic signature. And of course, the infrared heat coming off a human body is electromagnetic energy. Don't forget that. And so your infrared heat coming off your body, mainly the chest and the heart, is traveling at the speed of light. I mean, it may feel really cozy and fuzzy and warm, but your light coming off your body is traveling at the speed of light. And Fritz Albert Popp, who discovered biophotons, proved that the human organism, that our cells emit full spectrum rainbow light, by the way, which corresponds to the rainbow body frequencies. And those frequencies travel at the speed of light. So we're all speed of light transmitters. So when we tune into this transmission and we gain a coherency, what you're thinking about matters, so it really matters. So that your openness to receive matters. So
yeah, if I can pitch briefly in on this is a very important point here, right? The technology we use today to make these transmissions is really, should just be seen as a technological aid, right, to assist our consciousness. Really, it's really just like it's like a tap on the shoulder, right? Say, hey, we're here, right, and pay attention because we're directing intentions towards you, and that's really just a tap on the shoulder, and then the rest is really consciousness work that we invite the folks to do and connect, and that's all part of the experience.
Yeah, now this is something that NASA has never done. I mean, I know Edgar Mitchell believed and worked in the power of consciousness and science, where science and consciousness are cooperating and in a kind of an alignment, a coherency. But most of the scientists at NASA have not been open minded to the idea of what role consciousness plays in coherence. So not everything is cold technology. This is not cold technology. This is a this is a reception and a transmission that your bioelectric field is participating in.
Yeah.
So we're only 2 minutes away right now from the transmission. So
2 minutes away, and we actually see Jupiter here. I don't know if you can see the little dot between the two antennas here. There's a little dot of light.
oh yeah, I can actually see it. Oh my god.
Yeah. Right.
There-
So,
I have
so
a pretty big computer screen, but yeah, you can see it. There it is.
there it is. So Jupiter is right there. It's because it's still daylight, right? We don't see it well, but within the next few minutes, it will become more and more apparent. So we'll see the target, but the antennas are pre-positioned, so we're ready to fire. So we're going to be starting the broadcast in 40 seconds, roughly. And I'll do the countdown. So in 35 seconds. And again, we'll start with the tones, the Ganymede tones that David produced. At the beginning, you may not hear them because they're not easily audible, but as the sequence will go on, the tones will become more and more audible. So just, focus on within and stay tuned. So transmission will start in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Okay, so we have a break here, a minute break.
We could barely hear that somehow. But it's still going up.
Yeah.
Your radio is 144.1 megahertz. Is the transmission frequency, everybody?
And so we hear a lot of interaction on your radio, David, already.
Oh, yeah, it's already going. It's already chirping.
Okay, so in 15 seconds, the second part will play now. It's you can describe what it is, the song.
Well, it's a music track that my wife and I did. It's really beautiful, very relaxing, very smooth. Try and get the sound to come through for them. We could hear that a little bit last time, but
All right, so it's going now. Can you hear the sound?
no,
No.
but it's transmitting. Yeah, now we hear it. Yeah.
It's also better if we stay on mute.
Oh, if everybody else mutes, yeah.
Can't hear anything.
Can you hear now?
No. Yeah.
The main thing is it's transmitting. So just focus, everybody. It's all transmitting. Just be in tune.
Okay. So David is getting some interaction. That's
Oh yeah, right away. Yeah.
great.
So now we're having a cool down, and then the encoded message goes out. And
That's right.
okay, and no, I just want to point out. Last time we did a transmission, I'll say this really quick. We got emails from people who are participating, and at exactly the same time, I had brought my radio in the house, normally perfectly quiet in the house, and I checked with this woman in Los Angeles near Long Beach, California.
6
And
seconds.
her radios were going crazy at the same time as mine. That was mind blowing.
All right. Transmission completed.
So what's happening to my radio right now happened to another participant. I mean, it's over 1,500 miles from me at the exact same time after we did the transmission last time. It's going crazy.
Yeah, very active. Very active.
I'll
We have a
just turn the
beautiful
vol- I'll turn the volume down.
We have a
I-
beautiful Jupiter as well now.
Yeah, so we'll be at Jupiter by 5:30. We've absolutely reached Jupiter and its moon Ganymede. So sometimes, you know, a response actually occurs, because when I calculated how much time it would take them to respond, that's when my radio in the house and this other woman who contacted me, I'm not going to give her name out without her permission, her radios were going crazy in her apartment in Long Beach, California at the exact same time mine were. And when I measured the time of night that it occurred, it lasted for about 20 minutes, and so did hers, and 20 something minutes. And I checked the time, and that would be about enough time for the message to have been received, and a little bit of time passed, and then a response, and how long the response would take to get here. So 46 minutes there, 46 minutes back is an hour and a half, plus a little bit of time is how much time it took. But what's happening to me right now is instant.
Yeah, it's very, very intense.
Somebody is saying, Facebook user, mine doing the same thing at 144. It needs to be 144.1. My radio just went off in New Mexico. Somebody just said 144.1 in New Mexico. See?
Mm-hmm.
So
fascinating.
We have lots of comments. We have lots of comments. Their radios are going off too.
Yeah,
So,
I was just saying that, Shirley.
sorry.
And again, what's important about these little dashes on the radio you're getting, they're not electromagnetic. When I check with my meter, which I don't have in here right now, there's no radio frequency activity. It's not radio frequencies that is causing this. We don't actually, it's happening in the magnetic spectrum, but not in the radio frequency spectrum. And because this is a radio tuned to 144.1 megahertz, you would think the activity would trigger a response in a radio frequency meter, and it doesn't. It doesn't. It's happening in the magnetic spectrum. So sounds like birds chirping. Actually, it's very random. It's not like steady. The things that happen in my house in the last week are inexplicable. Since since the transmission on the 11th of November. We did a transmission on the 11th of November. The things that have happened in my house are inexplicable. There's no way to explain it. In fact, nobody would believe it. Yeah, it's really going crazy here. All right, everybody. Thank you for participating. We'll just tune in and really watch what happens in about an hour and a half to 2 hours from now, and in the next 3 days and as well. So that's the time to watch. And sometimes
David, can you confirm from Facebook user? He said he's doing the same thing at 144.000, and it's doing it, and then again at 144.1 as well. So
144.1000 is 144.1. It's the same.
No, I know. Above though, it says 144.000. I know the one.
I've never seen anything. Jimmy and I have never seen anything at 144.000. We have.
Yeah, so I'm wondering who that is and what they're experiencing.
Okay, let me try and change mine to that number. So let's see.
And then they're asking, they want to know what the binary message said. Well, we don't know.
Well, our binary code message.
We don't even.
When I switch mine to 144.000, it's dead. There's nothing happening.
Yeah.
You see, well, our message, our binary code, I can maybe read it. You can read it. I don't know if it's too small, but at the bottom here. But, the binary code says this transmission is addressed to the Andromedan Council, the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and all friendly civilizations who are helping humanity. We aspire to collectively raise consciousness and thus planetary stewardship by lifting humanity into deeper resonance, coherence, and universal peace. You are invited to manifest your presence in our skies and interact with us in a very demonstrative way, so mankind can finally reunite with its cosmic family and enter a new era of love, peace, and prosperity for all. Please help us co-create this timeline and transform Gaia into the paradise that it was meant to be. Humbly requesting technological assistance to relay this message throughout the galaxy, welcoming your presence and protection from ambassadors of Earth, considering planetary advancement. So that is the message that was encoded in binary code.
Beautiful. Anything else before we sign off for the night?
That's all on my side. So I will keep the recording going for the next 10 minutes, and I'll look after if something happened. But it's successful. All the transmission went successfully, and I'm very pleased about it. And maybe next time we can play the audio on your system, David or Shero, so can.
Yeah, I'll have to do it on my system. I think it shuts out when you're transmitting. The main thing is that everybody's tuning in, because when you're tuned in to the transmission at the exact moment, then
it didn't shut out last time, so it's something else.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. I have another segment coming up tonight at 5:30, talking about my experiences of meeting Christ in person, which began in 1994, shining like 1,000 of our suns, actually. And I'm just going to talk about that a little bit tonight as we come into the holiday season. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you, for those of you who will continue later tonight. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for doing this for us and hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Oh,